right, welcome back to the Ghana Agenda. Again, my name is Alfred Muzu. Today, like I said, we'll be talking to my friend Seth Mifetu, and we would be going into answering the question, how well do you know Volta Region? And in that context, we want to look at the broader Togoland. And Seth will be helping us digest that. Welcome to Ghana Agenda, Mr. Seth. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you, my brother.
Good to have you. I think we're already beginning to have comments coming, but we'll be reading that. I think Black Jesus is watching, who is, of course, our director at Trend African TV. Black Jesus, Royal Black Jesus, actually. Thanks for watching. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Mr. Seth, my understanding is you just came out of another program, which is the Western Togoland Situation Room. Tell me about that program, but at the same time, tell me about yourself and how you got into, first of all, being a strong advocate of the region and its people.
Thank you so much, my brother. Like you said, I just came up from Western Togoland Situation Room, where I host that program. What I try to do is that I try to explain to Ghanaians and Western Togoland and those abroad to understand the situation between the land that we call Western Togoland, which is normally called Togoland under British administration, or British Togoland. That today we are just calling it simple and short, Western Togoland. So we try to explain to Ghanaians, Western Togolanders, and any other person who wants to be interested that this is the fact. We tell them the truth for them to be their own judge. We tell them that this is how the thing's supposed to be. We try to explain to the people that, oh, listen, Western Togoland is supposed to be in union with Ghana. And they voted in 1956 in plebiscite to join independent Gold Coast in the form of a union. But that union has now been established. So if there's a need for us to establish that union, let's do it now. So we try in Western Togoland Situation Room to tell them the bare truth, what it is. And I use United Nations document to back those facts, so that people can just understand and know the right thing to do. People who are sleeping will wake up, and those who are wake up will start running. That's what I do in Western Togoland Situation.
Okay, so just so people can catch the Western Togoland Situation Room, yep. Where can they find it? What time does it come on?
Western Togoland Situation Room is on every Saturday on Trend Africa. You can go on Facebook and just search for Trend Africa TV. Then the time is 5 p.m. Ghana time. It will be 1 p.m. New York time. So that is the time. Wherever you are located, if you can use the Ghana time to calculate your time, it will be 5 p.m. Ghana time. So that you can use it to calculate where you, because I understand that we are not on the same time zone.
Okay, great. Yeah. So Ghana Agenda viewers and my audience, you've heard Mr. Mifetu. If you want to catch the Situation Room, the Western Togoland Situation Room, where he goes down into the nitty details of all the things we'll be talking about today. It's on Trend Africa and it comes on Saturdays, and he just gave you the time. So, Seth, I want us to go chronologically, right? How did this whole situation started? How did Togoland found itself under trusteeship? Take me from the beginning and walk us through. If I'm new to the area and I want to understand who are Ewers, who are Voltarians, how did they get to that part of Ghana to form Volta Region? Walk me from the beginning. From, I think you told me something about in the background about the Germans being the occupiers of that area. So take me from the beginning.
If we talk about how the Volta region came about, you want to know how they were under the German and stuff like that from the very beginning, like you said.
Right.
From the very beginning, these people are part of the land that we call the Togoland. Just simple Togoland. It's nothing like a Western Togoland at the time. It's just one land called the Togoland. The Togoland stretch all the way from Boku, Sankasi, Kulungugu, that share border with Burkina Faso, which normally we call the Upper Volta, and route down to the Volta region south. You know, it ran through the eastern part of Eastern region all the way to through the Oti region. So Oti region is part of this Togoland that we are talking about, and then it moved all the way to Togo, the Republic of Togo, where Yadema is ruling today. That place and where I have just mentioned, they were all one land called Togoland. There is no division. It was under the German. The German came there and they have their influence over there. So the people of Togo was enjoying the German suzerainty because the Germans were there and they were enjoying the German suzerainty until the war broke up in Europe. When the war broke up in Europe, it was then that, okay, let me give you one thing before we move into the war. You see that Togo itself, the Togo is located between Dahomey and Gold Coast. So the Togo was between Gold Coast and Dahomey. Dahomey is where we are calling today as Benin. And then the Gold Coast is where we are calling today as Ghana. Now,
okay, so as you can see on my screen, you're talking about that stretch of purple area. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. And you could see where it cut off in the bottom there by Georgia and Kita and all those other places. So all the purple area sort of is what you're referring to as the Western Togoland. Is that correct?
If this map is, I don't think this is the old map. This is the current map, and you can see that the Western Togoland was cut short. You know, if you look at the bottom there, the Western Togoland, the purples are supposed to go down there to add the original map. Should have added the Anglon, the Tong, the Peking there, but that was cut off. So that very particular map you are showing me, it is a recent map. It's not the original map where we have the complete Togoland, but this is where some things happen and some things cut out. But so I do not want to.
I think we're going to have the opportunity for you to explain to us how even this modified map came into being. But in the meantime, you were telling me about the German ownership and all that.
Yeah. So for instance, all the purple side and the other side where they say Togo were the areas that were having the German influence. They were under the German suzerainty. And then when the war came, and I said they were located between Dahomey, which is Benin, and Gold Coast, which is now Ghana. Because at that time, we don't have Ghana, and we don't have, yes. So what is happening is that British were in the Gold Coast. British colonized the Gold Coast. And the French colonized the Dahomey, the Benin people. So the Germans, Togoland was between the Gold Coast, which is for the Britain, and the French, Dahomey. So the French and the Britain came together and formed Britain on Togoland. So because of that fight, Germany was defeated and Germany left. So when Germany was defeated, then the Allied forces, the Britain and France, decided that they want to share the land as a war booty. So they share the land according to themselves. That's why the fact that you and I know very well that the war was not happening in Africa, the war was happening in Europe. So I don't see why you should bring the war to our land, the land of West Africa, while the war is in Europe. And you can also understand, for those who read history, they know very much well that it was decree, not even decree, it was against the constitution at the time. At the time, League of Nations was the one ruling the whole world, was the world government at the time. And it was that you cannot send a war to a foreign land. If you want to fight somebody, you don't fight the person in a foreign land. So at the time German was in Togoland, they do not have the army in the Togoland, because Togoland does not belong to Germans. For them to have their army there, the German only came there using the people to get the cotton that they were growing there, to get the resources and send it back to develop their country, Germany. That's all that they were doing. They were having about 12 Germans. These are the only people on the land. They don't have military.
So if I get you right, what you're saying is between whatever year, maybe the 1418s, when the first Caucasian was actually made it to West Africa. Between that time and the First World War, the Germans occupied the entire Togoland, which comprises of the current Togo and Volta region as formerly divided,
Volta region and Oti region.
Volta region and Oti region.
All the way to St. Cassius, Eastern Border.
All that place was a German territory. German was actually the occupying power there. Yeah. And then the Germans lost the First World War.
Yeah.
And when it was the First World War, as a result of losing the war, Britain and France, who were allied in that war, decided to split the Togoland. That's what you're saying. Okay. Then what happened? So they split the Togoland, and then how did we end up in Ghana? I wanted to kind of,
Right. They split the land. They divide the land into east and west. So because Britain took the western part that was close to the Gold Coast, because they were in the Gold Coast.
And you said because they were already in Dahomey.
French were already in Dahomey. So the land was divided into east and west. So eastern part was close to Dahomey. So the French took over the eastern Togo. And then the British took the part that is western Togo, which is close to Gold Coast. So they take that. So that became theirs. And then that's where the League of Nations stepped in and said, you don't do this. The land does not belong to Germany. And if you didn't have the right to fight them, that right is not even for to you to fight them in any other place. But if you do that, that does not mean to share the land among yourself as war booty. But now that you have done that, you have exerted your influence on the people. So the Western Togolanders have the British influence instead of the German influence. And then the Eastern Togoland have the French influence instead of the German influence. One thing we must know that our people, both, you can call it Volta region or whatever, the people that fall within the Togoland were German-speaking people. They don't speak English. So that's why sometimes they don't speak English. Before, they don't speak English until the British came in. So when the British came in, they destroy all the things that Germany built for these people, the schools, the everything. And those French scholars who had a German influence, German scholars in our forefathers who went to German school, now they cannot speak the English. Now they have to come back and start from scratch. So it looks like the Gold Coast were ahead of them, but that was it, because they were ahead of them in terms of the English, because they had the English influence, and our forefathers in the Western Togoland had a German influence. So they speak German, and the other people the Gold Coast speak English. So when that part was given to the British, and they destroy everything that the Germany built for them, now they have to introduce their schools into Western Togoland. And you, the one who have learned German, now you have to go back and start
learning English. Okay. Okay, now let's go back to, so now, the English took over, the Western territory, the Western part. The French, of course, took the one closer to Dahomey, so that, they can merge that with Benin or however they want to, want to go forward with that part. Now, what happened after, Ghana became independent, or before Ghana became independent? My understanding is that they had to ask the indigenous, the inhabitants of the land, to make a decision at some point to either join with Ghana or to continue to remain under the British trusteeship. how did, first of all, tell me about the trusteeship and how it came about, and then tell me about the decision that has to be made by the indigenous at some point to either join Ghana or to continue to be under the trusteeship. Yeah.
If you quite remember, I was making a point with League of Nations at the time. And if I don't complete the point, some people might not get the understanding. It was the League of Nations who stepped in and stopped Britain and France from taking this land as their colony. So this land became a Class B mandated territory under the League of Nations. And they placed the land into the hands of Britain. Western Togoland was placed into the hand of Britain by League of Nations to be nurtured to independence. And then Eastern Togoland was also placed into the hands of French to be nurtured into independence. But they were called Class B mandated territory. It was the Second World War. It was the Second World War that sought the collapse of the League of Nations. So League of Nations was not able to prevent the Second World War. So when the Second World War happened, League of Nations was replaced by United Nations. So when the United Nations came, it took over and took over the mandated territory and placed them under the Trusteeship Council. So he also signed agreement with Britain, which we call the Trusteeship Agreement, to place the same land, Western Togoland, into the hands of Britain to be nurtured into independence. And then the same thing happened to Eastern Togo with French at the same time. So it happened like that. So we have 11 trust territory under the Trusteeship Council of the United Nations at the time. Now, this is where we get to the point that you were trying to establish. To say how the people voted and what happened, and they became part of Ghana and there and there. This is what happened. Those in the Western Togoland or the Togoland under British administration, they came to a time when the Gold Coast was demanding for their independence, and the whole world was pressurizing the imperialists to end colonialism in Africa. So Britain said that, okay, since I'm going to grant a Gold Coast independence, if I grant Gold Coast independence, I will not be able to take care of Western Togoland. So for that reason, I want to make a union with Western Togoland and the independent Gold Coast. So when that happened, the United Nations said, okay, they went into debate. And then they said, okay, if we want to do that, we agree that you should grant these people independence and make a union with Western Togoland and independent Gold Coast. But then you have to let the people decide whether they want to join independent Gold Coast in a form of a union or otherwise. So they hold a plebiscite in 1956. The plebiscite was held in Western Togoland in 1956. And out of the plebiscite, 58% of the Western Togolanders voted to join independent Gold Coast in the form of a union. And 42% voted against joining the union. So at the end of the day, it's the union that has won. So that's how the union supposed to come about. And after that, the United Nations also held a meeting and came out with Resolution 1044 SI of 13 December 1957 and give steps to give steps to Britain to take those steps to bring about the union. So after the people have chosen the union, UN said that the plebiscite alone is not a union. The plebiscite alone does not form a union. It's only a meeting of the people that we want to be in union. But there are steps that you have to take to bring about the union. So we are not going to allow.
Yeah, you keep saying union.
Yes.
Don't we have a union currently in place between Ghana and the former Western Togoland? What we currently have in place, can that not be described as a union? In your mind, what is a union? And what needs to be done to actually attain this union that you are describing?
Okay. If you say you have a union, then you must be able to prove with a union agreement. There can never be a union without agreement. Now, if we are talking about the
What you're saying
union,
is, after the plebiscite, the first thing that needed to happen was that there needed to be an agreement between independent Ghana and the Western Togoland. Is that what you're saying?
yes, there should be a union agreement between the two, finalizing the union, the terms and references of the union. Every union has the terms and references and laid down in the union agreement. Now, this is what happened. If you want to establish a union, you must make sure that the two countries are equal. You do not make a union between two unequal countries.
Okay.
You don't make a union between two unequal countries. And there are certain things that must be in place before a union can be reached.
What does that mean? Who are the unequal countries in this situation?
You can see that Western Togoland was a trust territory. That means they are independent countries. Okay. They are just being placed into the hands of British United to be independent. When they are growing up, they should be released to be on their own. But you can see Gold Coast was a colony. Gold Coast was a colony.
So what you're saying is, at the time, Gold Coast was not yet an independent country.
Now.
But Western Togoland was already independent because it was really never colonized.
Exactly. And when you are a colony, you are a slave. You have no right. So you cannot make a union with a slave and a trust territory. So what the United Nations asks is that Britain must grant independence to her colony. That was Gold Coast. That we don't have Ghana at the time.
Okay, Gold Coast then. Gold Coast.
So what's happening here, one thing is that Britain will have to make sure that the people of Western Togoland have a government. And the people of Gold Coast also have their own government that will represent their own interests. Britain will also have to make sure that there is a constitutional conference between Western Togoland and Gold Coast. Now, Britain will also have to make sure that there is a union constitution to give a backing to the union. So all these are all steps. It's not a step that should be taken a day, because you need, when you have the government of Western Togoland and the government of the Gold Coast, they will sit down and discuss the terms and references. But that is not done. The one thing you have to know is that at the time that Britain is saying that the union has been established, at that point, Western Togoland have no government to represent her interests. But Gold Coast have a government in place. Gold Coast have a government. Britain has guided Gold Coast, nicely to form a government to represent her interests, because British was leaving. But that was not done to Western Togoland. Western Togoland, there was nothing. The people were just there. They don't know what is happening, know what is going on. And then 1957, when Ghana became independent, we saw a letter saying that the union was effected on the same day that Ghana became independent.
Let's explain this whole union thing one more time in a way that the average person would understand. So, on the day of the plebiscite, two questions were on the ballot, right?
Yes.
One question was that Togoland, which is the Western Togoland, will stay under the trusteeship until they are ready to become independent, and when they are ready to formulate their government and be on their own. And then the second question was that they go into a union with Ghana, with Gold Coast, which is going to be independent on its own. Then they go into a union with that independent Ghana. And we are saying that was what won the day. When the plebiscite was held, that the majority of the people, which my understanding is about 58% of the people, about 93,000 of them, voted to join a union with Ghana. And you are saying that union has now been consummated. That union has now been properly formed. In other words, there was no union agreement between the independent Ghana and the Western Togoland. So how then did we allow, or how then did Ghana manage to keep that Togoland till today when the union hasn't been properly consummated?
Well, I'll come to that, but I just want to show you this. This is from the United Nations. It's a United Nations document. Okay. Somewhere you see these pictures. You see the hand and the sun. The hand represents, this is the what you have, the symbol people have to vote for during the plebiscite. If you vote for the hand, you are voting for union. If you vote for the sun, you are voting against the union. And I want to read the union question from the other page for you. I want to get that one for you so that people can know exactly. This is it. This is this is for the union, and this is the question here. This is the question for the union. The question says, "I'll read." The Union of Togoland under British administration with an independent Gold Coast. So if you are voting for the hand pointing up, that means you are voting for Union of Togoland under British administration with an independent Gold Coast.
Okay.
Now this is the second question, which is for the sun. So if you are voting for the sun, this is the question that falls over there. And the question says, the separation of Togoland under British administration from the Gold Coast and its continuous under transition, pending the ultimate determination of its political future. So if you vote for this, you are voting against the union, and you have to wait until a further determination of your political future. So you remain in trust until a further determination of your political future. So that's what the true question is. So that's what it is. Now I want to go to your question. I just want to use that to help with the questioning that was posed on the day of the plebiscite. That was the plebiscite question and the symbols of the plebiscites.
Okay. Now, so one you go in for the union, the other says. So people are saying the union means that you are joining with the country, and I think Steve has a comment that we'll go into the comments in a little bit that I'll read to you. Maybe let me bring that right away. Steve is asking that. What you're saying, first of all, Steve is saying doesn't make a lot of sense. He says if you agree to join a country, it's essentially an understanding and an agreement. Can he further explain what he means that there was no formal agreement? So we've had a plebiscite, and that plebiscite was taken to United Nations, and the United Nations passed Resolution 1044 to confirm that going forward, we will be part of Ghana. So how is that not a union in your understanding? And I want you to differentiate between what you mean by a union and what you mean by what we currently have. And I'm sure maybe some people call it integration, that we are necessarily integrated into Ghana, and that the Volta land, or they changed the name to Volta land at some point, which I'm sure you're going to explain, but that the Western Togoland shouldn't be integrated. It should be a sort of a union on its own in combination with the independent Gold Coast. Give us also examples of unions around the world so that we can understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that when we are talking about a union, we are talking about a political union here. We are not talking about a union between somebody and somebody, you and somebody. You can just agree on something and go into a union. That's the two of you. That's fine. So we are talking about a political union. We are talking about the future of a country. We are not talking about the future of one person. So you don't just say because the people say they voted to be in union with you, that means we are in union. It is never done anywhere like that. Now, what is done is that if the people voted to be in union, you make sure, like I explained before, there should be, the two countries have to be equal in status. That means that the two countries need to have a government that is representing her interest. Today, if the Ghana government wants to go into union with any country, it is not just the citizen voting to be in union with the person. That is it. The government of Ghana have to go into agreement, have to go into negotiation with the other government. That's the other country. That is what you're supposed to have an equal partners in this union. But that was not done. That is not the case in Western Togoland and that of independent Gold Coast. That's one people have to bear in mind. That's what we are saying, that you cannot effect a political union without an agreement. Anytime there's a political union anywhere, there is an agreement. The agreement determines the term and references of the union. So when something is not going right, you can reference to the term and reference. You go there and say, this is what the union agreement says. It said, when you go left, I will go right. When you go back, I will go forward. But if there is nothing like that, where is the union then? If there is no union constitution, it is the union constitution that gives a backing to the union. If you have a country like Ghana, it is the unitary constitution that gives a backing to your country. So if you say, I voted for union, therefore I'm in union with you, what is the backing of the union? There is no backing. There is no union constitution. That is what's supposed to be there to give us a backing. So the jury, there is no union. Now, if voting alone, the plebiscite alone is a union, the United Nations will not waste her time and resources to come up with resolution 1044 SI of December 13, 1956. After the plebiscite, this is the resolution 1044 SI. United Nations have to come with this resolution to give Britain a step to take.
What does that say? What does it
about the union? So if there's the question my brother is asking, if the union, the plebiscite, the vote is enough to form a union, then there is no need for United Nations to come up with resolution 1044 SI to give steps that British should take to bring the union into effect. So there is no union.
No, I was just gonna say under that resolution, there are a couple of things, right? Four things stated in that resolution. And the first one says there's expresses, so the resolution is expresses, the United Nations is expressing its approval of the union of the territory of Togoland under the British administration with an independent Gold Coast, and accordingly invites the administering authority to take such steps as necessary to end
to this end.
Okay. Yeah. And then the second says, so basically, let's dwell on that a little bit. So, of course, they are expressing the approval of the union between Togo and Ghana, and then the British Togoland, and then accordingly they are inviting Britain to take the necessary steps to make that happen. What steps are they talking about?
If you read through, you will see they've given the British steps that they should take. They've made sure that these are the steps you have to take to bring about the union.
Okay, let me read the second one. The second one says resolves with the agreement of the administering authority that on the date on which the Gold Coast becomes independent and the union with it of the territories of Togoland under the British administration takes place, the trusteeship agreement approved by the General Assembly in Resolution 631 of 13 December 1946 shall cease to be in force, the objective of trusteeship having been attained. So that is to mean that
once first of all, you will have to know the objectives of the trusteeship. That the objective of the trusteeship is that by the time that the trusteeship agreement will be terminated or cancelled, the Western Togoland or the trust territory that is held in trust should be given a full independence.
Okay.
So if you are to make a union with them, that means the trusteeship agreement has been this thing has been attained. That's what you are referring to. Because when they signed the trusteeship agreement in 1946, the idea is that by the time that we are going to cancel this trusteeship agreement, at that time, the people of which you sign agreement to hold in your custody will be given a full independence. So that's what you're trying to do.
The third one says, request the government of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland to notify the Secretary General as soon as the union of the territory of Togoland under the British administration with an independent Gold Code has been effected. Has that notification occurred?
Yes, that occurred. That was the letter signed by Alan Noble on behalf of the British government.
So
Notified.
is saying that the union has occurred.
Yes, that's what the
But
government of
there's no agreement for the union to occur. On what basis is Alan writing a letter to the United Nations saying a union has been consummated when there's no union agreement?
That is what we ask Ghana to tell us. The Ghana and the British, they should be telling us those things, because you have not infected a union. But you wrote a letter to United Nations telling them that the union have been infected. You cannot infect a union without a union agreement. If you say the union have been infected, you must have a union agreement in place. When we request for the union agreement, they say they don't have it. So where is the union? There is nowhere that the citizens or the government of Togoland and the British administration met with the governor of the Gold Coast to formalize the union. There is no point that the two countries met to agree on one thing to form the union. So where is the union?
Okay. So, there is a comment here from Solomon Agbenya. Solomon Agbenya is saying the gentleman should give an example of a union between the two territories without any agreement between them.
Yeah, that is referring to the gentleman with the first question, because he says that because
basically what we are saying,
he is referring to Steve, because Stephen said we voted and we agreed to be in union. That's why Mr. Solomon is saying that the gentleman should give a union country without agreement. He should give us an example. If you know any country like that, give us any example.
Okay, so how about you? Give us an example of countries that have unions and, how those countries are faring. Because we've been hearing about union things, but...
We talk about even the Great Britain itself is a union state. It's a union country. The Wales came together with the England, the Scotland, and they came together to form the Great Britain. So Britain, that has been given the mandate to effect the union, they themselves are a union country. So they know the right thing that needs to be done. So what did you do?
Okay. So let's do this. Let's take a quick break. But when we come